So welcome to MIPJunior, and it's a very special year, as you all know. It's the 20th anniversary, and we were musing a minute ago about all the things we didn't have then and don't have now, and among them, cell phones. So please turn your cell phones off. But really, welcome to the 20th anniversary of MIPJunior. I'm really happy to welcome you to the buyer's conversation, what do they want? First, we're going to start by a look at the 2012 media landscape. And then the panelists are each going to introduce their networks, and they'll talk about their programming, their brand, and how they reach kids. And then we'll discuss the network strategies in the context of this current media landscape. And we'll look at trends from various views: creative, accessibility of media today, and from the business perspective. So please welcome our panel. Carol Bonneau, who's the Vice President of Programming at Teletoon Canada. Jackie Edwards, the Executive Producer at CBeebies Animation and Acquisitions for the BBC UK. Sebastian Debertin, the Head of Acquisitions and Co-Productions for KiKA in Germany. And Angela Sandan, the VP of Programming Discovery Kids, Discovery Latin America. And these programs are actually among the leaders setting the trends in programming, and you can see we have a great mix of networks, and it's really nice too because we have two public and two commercial networks from many parts of the world and targeting different ages. And we'd like to know who you are in the audience. It'll really help our panel as they talk to you. So how many of you are producers? Can you raise your hand? Can you see? Yeah. How many of you are distributors? You can raise your hand twice. How many of you are network executives? Mobile TV, mobile phones, social networks, consumer products, app developers. So we've got quite a mix and quite a number of hands going up a few times too, which is kind of what we're going to talk about. In the 2012 media landscape, it's really clear that kids live in a multi-platform world. They have access to media anytime they want it and wherever they want it. And for some time now, we've been talking about kids today being digital natives, growing up immersed in media. Well, the next generation are really touchscreen natives. They play and they learn in a world of smartphones, iPads, and tablets. And we've all heard those stories about the kid, and I think I've done this myself actually, who goes up to their TV and touches the screen and expects it to change. Kids are using digital media more often and at an earlier age. I think in 2005 they started around 8, and today you see toddlers with all sorts of smartphones and iPads. Digital media saturates kids' lives, and kids are media multitasking. They're using multiple media devices or they're watching TV at the same time. And in this landscape, we're going to focus on what our panel's networks are doing, that brands are more important than ever, and that these broadcasters are often building those brands. That content providers today need to create and provide for all platforms. They're scaffolding those digital experiences in the current media world. And that programmers, much like the ones today, are identifying many new sources of content. So we're going to start with about a 5-minute introduction to each network, and it'll provide you with a real sense of what they're doing and an overview. And first we'll hear from Carol Bonneau from Teletoon, then Jackie Edwards from the CBeebies, and Sebastian Debertin from KiKA, and Angela Sandan from Discovery Kids Latin America. So Carol.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Good morning, bonjour. Available in both English and French, Teletoon offers the best in animation for kids, for youth, and for adults. We have 5 nationwide specialty network: Teletoon, one French, one English; Teletoon Retro, one French, one English; and since July 4th, in partnership with Turner, we launched the Cartoon Network in Canada. We are owned by Chorus Entertainment, and we are also owned by Astral Media, who is in the process of being acquired by Bell. So let's watch the reel, and I'll get into details of the networks.
Blow it up!
There you have it.
So we launched Teletoon in 1997. So we have two networks, French and English, and we target kids and family and adult after 9 p.m. So we call it Teletoon at night. So we offer comedy and animated blockbuster movie. We have comedy like Johnny Test, Total Drama Island, Scooby-Doo, and action like Star Wars as well. At the Teletoon at night, we offer shows like Family Guy and more targeted to adult 18 to 34. Teletoon Retro is really for family. We offer classic cartoons like Bugs Bunny, Inspector Gadget, Hercules. This is all for retro. Just going back to Teletoon, I forgot to say that we are 60% Canadian content. So we have to have our schedule is 60% CanCon. So that's why we do a lot of original production and co-production. On retro, the regulation is different. It's 30% Canadian content, which is a challenge because we need to look for animation older than 10 years old in CanCon. And of course, Cartoon Network, we just launched in partnership with Turner, like I said. It's really targeted to kids 9 to 14, which is distinctive to the Teletoon, which is kids 6 to 11. So this is how we differentiate our brand, our targets, and adult 18 to 34 with Adult Swim. The Canadian content on Cartoon Network is 15% the first year, 25% the second year, and 35%. So that's the maximum of CanCon on Cartoon Network. But there's a lot of production that are on Cartoon Network worldwide that we have on. Sorry? Oh, there we go. Yes. So I guess I have to stop because I see the red light. So this is the difference between the Teletoon, the Teletoon Retro, and Cartoon Network for our brands. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Jackie from CBeebies, and I'll just tell you a little bit about CBeebies channel, which is the most popular preschool channel in the UK. Approximately 2.4 million children watch it each week between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. We have a tri-media offering with the TV channel. We have a fantastic online offering and radio too. And we've done well with the last couple of years, winning lots of awards, including 2 consecutive years winning the Children's BAFTA Channel of the Year, which is fantastic, and an absolute testimony to the talent and commitment of the in-house and independent production companies we work with. So let's just take a little bit of their work, have a look at some of their work. We run the reel, please.
CBeebies goes from strength to strength. Hello! It is the UK's most popular channel for children under 6. Good morning! From 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. dates, entertains and challenges its audience, reflecting the diversity of the whole country with new and innovative programmes. If you thought watching TV meant sitting still, then you haven't helped Tree Fruit Tom with his mission.
Draw a big round and then shrink it down.
Baby Jake may be little, but the world is a big place when you use your imagination.
That's just what we love to do.
Andy's Wild Adventures brings animal encounter someone I know very well. Me! One of the highlights this year was undoubtedly the CBeebies Panto, Strictly Cinderella, attracting a whopping 1.2 million viewers, highest ever audience for a CBeebies programme. CBeebies takes its mission to educate seriously, and this year launched a new Love to Learn collection starring the Num Tums.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The car, so come on, let's ride.
The Lingo Show gives little ones a helping hand with new languages.
Can you say naranja?
Naranja.
Muy bien.
And a new series of alpha blocks makes phonics.
Bat. Look at that. It is a bat.
These series join Rah-Rah the Noisy Lion, Abney and Teal, Nina and the Neurons,
I'd better get the lab ready before the experiment.
Iconicals, and a whole host of returning favourites to create one of the BBC's most loved services.
How about I'll bring the veggies and we have a massive party? What do you say?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't bounce very... I don't like it. Hey.
By pressing a red button, you have become a zing bopper too.
Brush your teeth, brush your teeth, brush your teeth, brush your teeth, till they're shinier than I have at you.
The CBeebies website is crammed full of activities and is now available on the go with our new mobile app. You can also find great content on our CBeebies radio player.
Check out my crucial new radio show.
In our presentation links and special guests for our bedtime stories. CBeebies is available whenever and wherever our youngest viewers want it.
So as you'll see, we offer a mix of live action, mixed media and animated programming, and we have two distinct bands really of programming for 2 to 4-year-olds and 4 to 6-year-olds, and we try to sort of offer a balance of programs. We've had a really good past 12 months with shows, well, the channel consistently sort of reaching a 50% reach and about averaging a 17.3% share. Those 7 shows have absolutely sort of stormed through those. The Panto, which is, I guess, a very British thing, reached a 46% audience share, which was incredible. And programs like Tree Food Tom, which is a new interactive show that supports movement development, had a 25% share, which was great news. We've had some great shows launched this year. Things like Andy's Wild Adventures, and a new... Most of our programming is sort of learning through play and a sort of very soft curriculum. But we have sort of launched a new Love to Learn block, which is more about inspiring children to learn rather than sort of hard-nosed educational curriculum. But then we've had other shows like Tree Food Tom, Justin's House, Woolly and Tig that have launched this year and have been fantastic additions to our portfolio of favourite shows like Octonauts, Justin's House, Baby Jake, Mr. Bloom and programmes like that. One of the big positives of the last year was the sort of growing success of our online offering. We have peaked at 1 million unique users weekly, and we've launched a mobile app so you can take the CBeebies website with you when you're travelling, which is obviously a marvellous thing for everybody. We've also increased our contact with parents and caregivers. We've always had a grown-ups section to the website which supports programming and gives more information, but we also have social networking sites. We have an immediate and direct connection with parents and caregivers, which has been really sort of very informative and instructive. We've also relaunched our radio offering this year. We've taken it's come off Radio 7 in the UK and is now available on a radio player on the website, and that's been a fantastic success since we've done that. Sorry, I'm galloping through. I have no time.
We're going to it all.
So basically, there are 2 ways that we buy programming. We have commissioning process for in-house and independent productions, and we buy animation through our acquisitions fund. So there are 2 ways in for producers, basically. Shall I stop there, Linda?
We're going to get to everything.
Yeah.
We're going to get to not letting you leave till we get the whole story. Okay, so Sebastian, thank you, Jackie.
Hello there, I'm Sebastian. I'm representing KiKA, the joint children's channel of ARD and ZDF. We're covering with our channel Germany, Switzerland and Austria. And what I can say is very simple. We try to cater to kids of all age. And I'm always very jealous sitting close to Jackie because she has a pleasure that they have 2 kids channels, whereas we still try to cater to all these target groups from the youngest ones to the oldest with 1 channel. That sometimes really is a challenge. Nevertheless, we are extremely successful in our market. We are on number 1 when it comes to daily prime time in Germany, which is kids watching 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. We're always number 1. Check the data, it's right. And we're also a market leader in terms of preschool, which for some of you who are in this area might be also of interest. What we try to achieve, having the pleasure of having just 1 TV channel, is that we try to make use of all the other possibilities that there are out there nowadays, meaning web and so on, to differentiate between the youngest, the 6 to 9, and the older ones. That's what we do on the website. We have a special website created for the preschoolers called KiKA, a blue rabbit you will see in the video, that is hosting the whole preschool show, shows that we have, and also on the web we have kika.de, which is trying then to give, aside from what is for the youngest, give the 6 to 9-year-olds and older kids what they need and what they want to see. And on top, and you'll see in the video, and later on we'll surely talk about that, is that we also try to have our own free VOD offer, again segmented into 3 parts, preschoolers, 6 to 9, and 10 plus kids. So before talking too much, let's roll the tape, and afterwards I recap a little.
Okay.
It all started in Erfurt in 1997. Since then, Europe's first public free-to-air children's channel offers programs for young viewers aged 3 to 13. KiKA is fee-financed and commercial-free. Many of the programs have won awards. The range of programs is geared toward each developmental stage of the young viewers and meets the most stringent journalistic and media educational requirements. Otherwise, KiKA wouldn't be what it is today. A trusted brand for children and parents alike. KiKA is giving careful thought to the youngest viewers. KiKA Männchen gives a name and a face to the preschool world on KiKA. Cunning sheep like Sean. Big-hearted American Indians like Yakari.
Ich bin Yakari.
Animation formats are popular among all age groups, but especially among children of primary school age. On KiKA, special consideration is given to the quality, age suitability of content, and contemporary production standards in the range of children's animation shows. Preteens have a lot of questions. What do other young people experience? What do I want to be when I grow up? What's life like in a shared apartment?
Und zwar ganz ohne Eltern.
These are docusoap topics on KiKA. The self-produced magazine and event format KiKA Live is television in which everyone can join in. Bad news, personal problems. KiKA doesn't leave children to cope with their issues alone. In the agony column or in a chat setting, their questions are taken seriously. Adolescents want to get to the bottom of things.
Crash Kids!
They don't want to see ideal world television. That's why real-life series such as Krimi.de are among this age group's favorites. After stress at school, you can immerse yourself in a world of fantasy and everyday madness.
Na toll! Oops.
H2O, or Just Add Water. KiKA offers television as a shared experience for the whole family. KiKA is opening itself up to new media. In addition to the KiKA online world with program overviews, games, details, and background information, Mediathek KiKA Plus was launched in July 2010. The service enables selected television programs from the KiKA range to be seen for free. Mein KiKA is the community for children up to 15 years old. Here they can meet friends, share things they've seen, or offer tips or words of advice. Every month, there are 15 million hits on KiKA.de and 11,000 visitors each year. Thousands of calls daily, more than 7,000 letters and packages, and over 5,000 emails monthly reach the KiKA viewers desk. A solid proof that KiKA of ARD and ZDF is the prime address for children.
So regarding this trailer, you have to know two things. The original trailer was 10 minutes long, and then they were saying, "I kill you if you show up with this long trailer." Okay, so it was cut down. So what I want to say is, and you got a glimpse of it, we try to really cover the whole variety of a full program that could be also done for adults, but it's dedicated for kids. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are so successful in Germany. We've reached last year nearly 20% market share, which is not too bad in our market. And I think it is because two things. We have three parties out there here in Cannes, ARD people, ZDF people, and KiKA people hunting for the best stuff to bring into the channel. That obviously makes us strong. And the other thing is that I think kids trust in us, because what we offer is television to join in. And it's not just a claim or a motto, it's really, we have a lot of shows where they can come to us, where we, for instance, take a problem series and so on, and try to interact with them. And that is probably one of the main reasons why we are very successful. Just one last fact, because it's important for you guys, you want to produce or co-produce with us. 65 of the staff that we have is 65 to 70% is commissioned, locally produced, or internationally co-produced, meaning majority Europe, North America, Australia, and some other territories.
And we're going to get into more detail on that later too. Okay.
And could go on talk for hours, because we celebrate our 15th anniversary this year. So congratulations to MIPJunior for 20 years, but we are
15 is pretty
close
great.
behind. Close
15
behind.
is great. 15 is great. Okay, thank you, Sebastian. Angela.
Hello. I'm Angela Recio-Sondon, as Linda said. Discovery Kids is the leading preschool channel in Latin America and the #1 pay TV channel in Brazil. We're very proud of that. It's been quite a while now that Discovery Kids has been in that position. It is the only preschool channel for the company, for Discovery as a whole. And we've seen a lot of success in Latin America. We broadcast in Spanish and in Portuguese. In both languages. We have 4 feeds for all of Latin America. That's sometimes a bit of a challenge, but it does work better, given that there are, although there are a lot of similarities between the countries, there's a lot of differences. So having the multiple feeds sort of addresses some of those issues. Our target is 2 to 6, the sweet spot being 4 to 6, both boys and girls. And as a secondary target, moms and caregivers, which, being a preschool channel, that is a very important sector for us, because parents are the ones that first introduce the kids to the brand. So it is very important for us, and something that we take great care in keeping that communication with the parents through many different activities that we do in market and via the channel, and online as well. What I'm going to show you now is a little bit of an overview of the channel and a preview of the 2013 slate for the channel. So let's take a look.
That will be a blast for the whole family. Okay, I've got to run, but first, check this out.
Discovery Kids continues winning first place in children's television channels. One of the strongest brands in the market, shared by parents and children, by the values we support.
We do!
What a thrill! We teach how to understand and manage children's emotions and social environment. That's why we bring the series Transformers Rescue Bots and the expected Doki series.
I want to be an explorer.
Let's play! Guiding towards the discovery of their own body and health activities.
Down. Now clap and say mega attractor.
As in the premiering series, Tree Fu Tom.
Cool, huh?
To make art and live the music. With the participation of the parents, we seek the development of artistic and musical activities to enhance the children's cognitive abilities. With new series such as BeeBees and Fresh Beat Band.
You said it!
Let's have fun with science. Science, nature, and environmental awareness are recurring themes in our content, as in the series premiere,
Me, Luna.
Earth to Luna,
Why is this happening?
and Doozers.
Hola.
And of course, everyone's favorite series will come back in 2013.
Let me see, let me try.
Wait until you see Word Monster again.
You girls are the best friends ever.
I'll race you, Harold.
How about we make a monster that can fly?
I want to catch Scary Dragon.
We're my two favorite gigantic meteors.
¡Socorro! ¡Ayúdame, astronauta!
¡Velozmente!
Nowadays, content consumption is done on multiple platforms. This way, Discovery Kids expands as a brand with innovative initiatives to reach everyone.
¡Esa es una gran idea!
Creating new short formats.
Vamos, hazlo tú.
¡Canta conmigo!
Providing series and events for children and parents to share precious time together as a family.
I am so famous. I'm in your computer. I'm in your phone. Everywhere. Entra a discoverykids.com.
Discovery Kids encourages exploration, discovery, and learning. A brand with an alliance to the parents in their task of educating. Discovery Kids, always a leader in children's television.
Okay, and then just a couple things that I wanted to point out. It's about 70% acquisitions and 30% commissions and co-pros. And as you saw at the beginning of the tape with the spoof that we had, Doki started out about 7 years ago, as a mascot on the channel, sort of, through short format in branding and IDs. And now for December, we partner with Portfolio, and they are producing and distributing the series for us. So we have a full-length series coming up with Doki, with a special coming in December and the full-fledged series in March. That's for me. Thank you.
So what we're going to do is, let's have a round of applause for all of these great networks first. What we're going to do, because we're looking at the media landscape, is we're going to start off with a snapshot of how kids are changing their viewing, their consumption of media in each of the different territories. So why don't we start with Angie?
Okay, I would say that in regards to the biggest change, I think it's probably somewhat similar, although we might be in different stages of it for the other markets, but in particular in Latin America, because although there's a lot in common that the Latin American countries have, there are differences. So the penetration of, or the popularity of online and apps and other things do vary. But we do have countries like Mexico and particularly Brazil where the penetration is very high for online use. So therefore, it is very important for us as a brand to make sure that we're in all those platforms, and we have been able to do that. So the access that the kids have to all of those different platforms vary, but it is something that we do offer, and there is great penetration of it in countries like Brazil in particular, Mexico, Argentina, and Colombia. Those are our main markets. And how it's changed, it's similar to what Linda was saying at the beginning. Kids, especially preschoolers nowadays, they do have so many different touch points in how they can interact with the brand electronically, but also in regards to local events that we offer in the different markets that vary by market as well, depending on the needs of the local markets. So they're grassroots events where kids get to interact with the different characters. So that's what I would say is the different way that the kids consume does vary by market, but it is the same trends that we're seeing elsewhere.
More or less TV, or TV viewing about the same?
TV consumption is still very high for our sector, but it's that interaction where they'll watch the show on the television and then they'll want to go online and play games with the characters. The parents will look for information and sourcing on our website about the different programs that we offer on the channel. We have apps now as well, so they'll do that. What we find is the greater the greater the ability for touch points, the greater the popularity of the character. Because it's like you can't miss something you don't know. So the more touch points that we offer, the more we see the increase in popularity of the different characters.
Okay, thanks. Sebastian?
Well,
how the media consumption, you said something that was so interesting when we were talking about
Well, media consumption, if you just look at Europe, is so different. I mean, if you look at Italy or Spain, they are watching much more television than in Germany, for instance. They are watching, I think, in Italy, 2 hours 50, in Spain, 2 hours 20. UK is a little less, I'd say. And Germany is just 1 hour 30. So what we have to make sure is that we get them to our channel, which we successfully do. But again, it is about finding out how can we adapt to these new times as public television. There are also some kind of political restrictions that we have to face. So that's why what you've seen in the trailer is we try to really make the best of all the platforms that we are able to reach the kids. And another element, another tool of the many toolbox that we have developed is that we try to really interact with the kids and that we meet them on venue. We were celebrating, as I said, our 15th anniversary, and for instance we did a 2-day event on Saturday and Sunday, and we had one day 55,000 kids just from around with us and then celebrating, and that was a good thing. And they were enjoying their most beloved characters on stage and with walking acts and other join-in possibilities. So it's very important to make use of the chances that you have. And the other thing is, if you look at the different countries and the penetration of technology is, well, parents have everything in Germany, but do the kids have access? And that's why I always raise the question to producers also, is your project really something that from beginning should have an app? Shouldn't we think about, let's say, creating something first, a web offer for a preschooler can be more successful and more helpful for raising awareness for the show than just coming from scratch with an app.
When we were talking, you were talking about kids giving up TVs, or if they had to make a choice with what they would give up.
Oh, that was an interesting question. I was looking up some research, and the one thing every child asked, and that's good news for you TV producers, every child asked was answering to the question, what could you give up? And still over 60% said, I couldn't live without my television. Now, they would give up the internet PC, their game console, whatever, but television still is their #1 media, which is good for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jackie?
I think, children are consuming media in so many different ways, and it makes my head spin just to think about it, quite frankly. But I mean, on CBeebies, we're seeing it, telly is still hugely popular with our audience. Our online offering, the growth in the sort of desktop offering is sort of fairly stable, whereas the growth in our mobile offering is going like this, and it's sort of how we keep up with those different sort of ways of consuming media is going to be the big challenge for producers and broadcasters. I mean, I think it's fair to say we are trying to offer our brands in as many different ways as possible, and kids love the brands and they will follow their favourite characters, whatever you do with them. With simple pairs games on the website, which are massively popular because they're the character we put on that template is one of the favourite brands. Like Mike the Knight Pairs game is a huge success for us, absolutely phenomenal numbers. And shows like Rasmus, which started as a plain TV offering, not a very vibrant TV offering, in fact, but we started doing games and dance games. So everything we've done to sort of build that brand with a production company has been related to the property. So we had dance games and music-related games, and we've just launched some podcasts on the radio player, which is, we've taken an element of the TV show, which was the radio station within the show, and we've recreated that radio station as part of our radio offering. So it's sort of, as producers and broadcasters, we all need to be thinking about, okay, this might be simply a TV proposition to start, but what elements can we grow out of there to build that brand? Because at the end of the day, it is about the brands. It's about creating really robust concepts and characters that kids love and can relate to, because that's what they'll come back to time and time again, whichever way you're offering that content.
Has TV viewing gone up or down, or consistent? Or
it's pretty consistent, really. And we do very, very well, and there are shows that just sort of barnstorm through above our average, very good share. So.
Okay. And Carol, what is the situation in Canada in terms of media consumption?
For Teletoon, we are also available on all the Teletoon brands are available on all platforms. We did a research, and that's interesting. On the 22 million hours that our viewers were watching, we only 0.1% was watched on another platform. So, but it's growing. We're just following the trend. It is growing, but television is still the biggest. It's where the kids like to watch their program, and also their videos, and it's still the television. We also have a popular website. We have 1.3 million visitors on Teletoon.com, and it's the games also that are very popular. 3.8 million a month game plays on the Teletoon.com. So the kids like to come and play games. So same thing. It's an extension of the program.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about the multiple platforms and go into, a little bit more about how the networks take a specific advantage of the different platforms. Angie, when we were talking, you were telling me about the particular set of circumstances in Latin America and how you figure it out in terms of multiple platform in one network.
Yeah, it's tricky because we have a certain level of exclusivity in regards to the distribution of our channels through cable or satellite or telephony or whatever the system is. So we do have to protect that because that is our core business. However, we understand that our consumers want to see those characters, as I said before, in all of the different platforms. So it's really figuring out how to spread that out. And, offering you have a certain offering on the channel, then we have a certain offering on our website, certain offering in apps, certain offering in regards to the local events we do. So it's really taking each character in each property and looking at it in a different way. Although, generally speaking, we do try to ensure that we have that we make available, our properties in all of the different platforms. It's about looking at what is specific about and unique about each character and each property, and figuring out what is the best way to put it on all the different platforms. You know, there might be content that, you know, will work just as well in its original format in regards to what we see on television, that'll work on an iPad, for example, on a tablet, but that won't necessarily be the same thing that you want to see on a smartphone or you want to see online. So it's really about identifying what is unique about the different characters and the different brands, and making sure that what we offer on all the different platforms enhances that experience for the kids. And that's what makes them fall in love with the characters and makes them want to come back for more, and makes them want to access those characters in all of those different platforms, because they will find something specific and unique throughout, you know, all of the different platforms that might be touch points.
Sebastian, any specifics with those different platforms and how you're approaching them?
Well, I think, as I said before, we have some huge political restrictions that we really see as a challenge for us, because that limits our possibilities. And I don't want to end up like the dinosaurs. Being a television station, you nowadays have to be out there everywhere. And what I like to underline again, and I totally agree to what Angela said, it is important to really evaluate what does your property need in terms of the buzzword 360, and you really have to try to find out where do you invest. It's money you have to invest in. So the television show is the one thing, and the other thing are the things that you want to also bring to life on the other platforms. And for us, it's always that we try to, with the producers together, evaluate what is a sensible investment, where does it make really for the target group, for the users, make sense to invest in, and where you better forget about coming up with an app asset and just come up with a very classic but very intelligent way of coming up with a web offer that kids and their parents alike can make use of. So that's the one thing. The other thing is obviously that we all have to see whether public television is known for that, but we have to all see how L&M still can bring our characters out of television to life, and to me that still is, and will in the future even more be of importance also for public television.
Okay, thanks. Well, I'd like to look at the media landscape in terms of the programming, the trends in content. And Carol, you were talking a little bit about Teletoon.
Yes.
And it's very interesting now to see the different sources for content.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, you first of all you listen to your audience, kids. You know by your audience number, your share, and then the popularity of your show. You know exactly what the kids are really looking for. But the story what you're referring of is it was a phenomenon in the Quebec market of there were like clips on the web. Called Teletoon. They were developed by someone who was doing some advertising, but they had like millions and millions of hits in the Quebec market. So what we've done is we partner with the creator of Teletoon, and we worked on a half-hour series with him because he had like a very well-known brand, and to make it unique and to bring it back. So this is an example of an idea that came from the web that we developed in a television series. So you have to look everywhere for those,
And Jackie, you had an interesting example of that as well, with Lingo and others.
Yeah, we a lot of our programs start in different places, and we've had several instances over the last while where things have been pitched as an interactive proposition and have been so successful and so well received by the audience that they've migrated to television, which is a lovely thing. And Lingo Show, which is a soft language learning show, which is very entertaining, by the way. That makes me laugh anyway. Then that's successfully migrated from the web to TV. But I think something we've got to be smarter about, and something we're starting to do more of at CBeebies, is developing project from a multi-platform point of view, and thinking from day one of sort of a programme being given the nod about how we do that and what are the sort of different ways we can spread brands out, and sort of being smart about use of assets and how we're designing our pipeline and how we can maximise everything that we're creating to work across all the different platforms. We did it reasonably successfully with Tree Food Tom, and the interactive adventure games were always part of the production pipeline from the very start. I mean, obviously it was a stop and start process from that end of production, but those, I think, and we are sort of trying to be more joined about how we approach multi-platform production, because it's the thing to be doing, I think.
Okay. And Angie, thank you, Jackie. And Angie, that story of Doki is an intriguing one, because Doki started as an interstitial. So you've got two that came from the web, one and an interstitial. So what is the evolution of Doki?
Yes, Doki is a very interesting, an interesting character, and just the whole development of the series was something that came from nothing, literally. He started out as, like I said, in interstitial form. We used him to, as intros and outros to particular shows, teasing upcoming shows, and he started to become very popular. We would get a lot of requests for different types of content for Doki and where you can buy Doki, and started seeing a lot of Doki, unauthorized Doki characters in the region, as you can imagine, in Latin America. So, it sort of took off all on its own. Obviously, we set up our own licensing and merchandising for Doki, created more interstitials, decided that Doki was very lonely and needed a friend, and created Mundi, which is one of his friends. And then from there, created a whole other set of characters that are Doki's friends. And from there, then the idea and the concept for the series came on board. And, Doki's very curious, and he and his friends are very curious, just like children are curious. And I think human beings, we're innately curious about the world around us. And that's something that's very innate in our brand as a Discovery brand. And it's something that, we always say that what we're trying to create are lifelong learners. For our Discovery brand, what we look for ultimately in regards to adults and the people that the channel and the brand really attracts are people that love to learn and people that are curious. So Discovery Kids has always been about that, is sort of sparking that curiosity in small children. And Doki is a perfect example of that, because he's sort of the reflection of the children in regards to being curious about the world around them. And that's what ultimately brought us to the ability to do a full-fledged series. And as you all know, funding is always an issue, so that was a big issue for us, and that's why it took us as long as it did. We had other opportunities and offers to do co-productions, but with that, we'd have to give away a piece of Doki, and again, it was something that was so big to us that's why it took us as long as it's taken us, but we feel that, we finally got it right, and have been able to do it. But yeah, Doki is an interesting case because of how he first came to be, but something that we're very happy and very excited about, to finally have a full-fledged series that will have all of the other components as well in regards to web and apps and the like.
Okay. Thank you. Sebastian, in this landscape, what do you see as opportunities for producers with your network?
Well, as I said before, the good news is that there are three parties here hunting for good stuff. So ARD people, ZDF and us. And I think what makes it so strong is that all these are coming and watching your shows, watching your projects, and trying to evaluate what is best for KiKA and for the main channels, meaning ARD and ZDF. And that is obviously a kind of you are washing the water in the river to find the diamond, and they'll find diamonds, and we together find diamonds, and that is something that is obviously for all of us very good, that we have a very strong portfolio of programming that on the one hand we've the majority of things I've seen here in the trailers, all the shows, all the big names we also have, and we mix it with our local production. and that's of importance. And you've seen our blue little rabbit called KiKA. It was very important to have a face that is the host for the youngest, to also, being the kind of nice storytelling wraparound around shows like Pocoyo or Little Red Tractor, or name them, all the titles that we have for our preschool kids. That's very important. You have to bridge to the different target groups, trying to get them emotionally. And with KiKA, we have been totally successful in doing so.
Okay, thanks. At what stage of development do you all look for a project? There's a lot of producers here, from TV to apps to everything else. At what stage do you want to see a project? If somebody came to any one of you, Carol?
Well, I would say like every stage. We also do help in the development of your show as well, to make sure that it is for our audience. So I would say you come with your idea, and if it really fits what we're looking for, which is right now comedy, 6 to 11, boy, 10-year-old target, then come in. If it's original and you've done your homework, you know what we're looking for, we will this is what you come and see us.
But I think that's a really important point to everybody, is do your homework, because otherwise it's just a waste of your time and everybody else's, and everybody's accessible, but it's just know what people really want, and I think that's one of the biggest tips you could give to anybody. What about the rights that are required? What kind of maybe you can all address the rights that you require, as well as when somebody can come to you. But Carol, you want to talk about the rights?
I think we want it all. I mean, we're covering Canada now. We need to be available on all platforms. We need to acquire all those rights. So yes, we do want all the rights.
Okay, Jackie, and rights, and also at what stage should somebody come to you?
For CBeebies, we need exclusive broadcast rights in the UK, and aside from that, licensing merch, we're agnostic about those things, but we don't need to take any of those. If you've got a commission, then that is essentially a co-pro with the BBC, and you have to give a little bit of your back end away. But for an acquisition, it's a straight 5-year license for UK broadcast rights. We want some limited sort of allowance for showing things on the website, but nothing, and some VOD rights as well for the CBeebies iPlayer, but nothing that's going to preclude your sort of pay VOD business outside. So it's a very straightforward deal, really. And in terms of bringing projects to us, I'm really, really happy to have a quick conversation about a headline idea before you go too far down a road, because if we've got something in production, it's better, I say, well, we've got one of those when you're at your sort of early stages of development, because there's nothing more depressing than getting a 60-page show bible and a pilot of something that has got massive overlap with a show we've either got in on air or in production.
Well, I find that really interesting, because I always think the more the better, but it isn't the more the better.
I just think, we are sort of quite sort of hands-on, and we're busybodies essentially, so we like to be very involved in projects development and production, even for our acquisitions, which are all pre-buys. And so we like to sort of have conversations from very early on. But in terms of pitching an idea in, I'm just really happy to have a quick conversation about, I've got an idea, it's about this thing and that. And you can give a sort of quick knee-jerk reaction to that, whether it's something that we'd be interested in following or not.
And then if you like it,
yeah,
bring scripts, bring designs, bring it. Okay. Yeah. Sebastian, how about KiKA?
I can subscribe to everything what Jackie said. It's more or less the same. And what we have to have in mind is we have to let the producers survive. So asking for too many rights can kill them. So what I want to establish relationships that are lasting longer than just for one production. So we really look up, if you come with a new project, we really have to look up what the specific needs from both sides are, and try to bring that in and try to come up with a agreement that respects both sides. Acquisitions, very clear. We try to also find out what rights can we have, what rights do we need to really make this, for the sake of both producer and broadcaster, makes this or that property popular. And in terms of pitching to us, very simple. We're actually co-producing an animated thing, 26 by 26, that 26 by 22, that has been based on a 5-line pitch, nothing more.
Can you tell us about that?
It's a kind of Should I? Well, why not?
Well, what were the 5 lines is what I want to know.
Well, I'm desperately here at the market looking for stuff for 6 to 9-year-olds, whether it's live action or animation, and there is so few material here, and that's why we very often look early at projects or even come with ideas to producers and say, here's our 5-liner, let's jointly develop something that works for my channel, but at the same time also can work overseas. And the producers very often, we play a kind of game together in co-productions. They have to understand and try really to understand what is KiKA all about and what are my German kids looking for. And I, vice versa, try to understand whether he's from Canada or from North America or Australia. I try to get hold of all the information about his home local audience, so that both sides try to understand the other side's need and make sure that this and that idea is not too German, not too European, but can work without being totally violated, can work in many territories. Whether globally, you have to find out, but it has to have a leg in Germany or in Europe and in Australia with a co-producer, and then perhaps you jointly create a world success.
Okay, thanks. And Angie, what about you? At what stage does somebody come to you, and what kind of rights does Discovery Kids in Latin America need?
In regards to what stage, like I mentioned earlier, we are about 70% acquisitions and 30% co-pros and commissions. So I think it really depends. I think there's some things that, already in the can and produced work for us on an acquisitions perspective. But when we're looking for, be it a commission or a co-pro, and I mean, always the earlier the better, I think, regardless. But nevertheless, I think that that's where obviously we want to hear about it first. We want to be part of the process as well. As we know, funding children's programming is very expensive. It's very limiting. So I think that that's why projects tend to be so collaborative. And we do look for very specific things to push our brand. So it always helps when we're able to come in early and give that feedback to the producers in regards to what specifically we're looking for, what specifically we want to stay away from. So I think that in that regard, that's why I think earlier the better. And in regards to, I'm sorry, what was the second question?
Good question. No.
That was rights?
The rights.
The rights, and then what was the other one?
The rights, and it's the rights, and also at what stage do you want to see something, which you basically answered. It's early. It's early. So in terms of, if you had to say that you're at this market looking for a particular dream, we know Carol wants 6 to 11s, a comedy, and boys, and KiKA's talking about 6 to 9. You're obviously looking at everything, but these are the focus. What would be yours?
Our sweet spot is 4 to 6, but we are looking for things that sort of push the envelope up a little bit in regards to reaching 8. So similar to what Sebastian was saying in regards to that 6 to 9 is sort of what I'm currently looking for. It's what makes it so difficult is the fact that because we are curriculum based and we are a preschool channel, we do have to be very careful in regards to the content. So that's why it makes that finding for that age that pushes the envelope a bit and finding it to be appropriate for our brand or to work well with the brand is such a challenge. But I would say that for any of us that have been looking and look for that material, that's probably the biggest challenge across the board for all of us, for the broadcasters, is finding things that work for that age group. So I would say that that's what I'm looking for, and that's the biggest challenge. And again, always something that falls into the sweet spot of 4 to 6, be animation or live action, more so on the animation side.
And all of you have talked about more content, not just the TV show. So I'm a producer, I come in, I've got this idea. Are you going to fund all these other pieces? Who funds it all? How does it all get paid for? And I know it's variable. But what is the expectation on the part of the producers to come in with some funding in their pocket or some idea of who they'd like to partner with for those various components?
We tend to see projects quite early, and we tend to sort of make the first commitments. We have distinct pots of money. There's commissioning and acquisitions money for TV programming, and then we have an interactive budget as well. And it's sort of...
You need to speak a little louder.
I do beg your pardon. But it's marrying those two pots of money up, and it's coming back to that sort of approach.
So you're looking at different budgets, really?
Completely, yeah. But we just need to be sort of marrying those closer up together, I think. But, you know, CBeebies is a big brand with a very tiny budget, unfortunately. So it's sort of picking and choosing which projects are really sort of most appropriate to take that sort of real multi-platform approach with funding.
I think the panel before explained the three-way of the co-production works in Canada. So I think for someone like Teletoon, we would and with the different funding, we would go as high as 20% of the budget. But most of our producers, you know, come and with a solid financial structure. And it is challenging. I mean, it is very challenging, but I think there's tools in place that, you know, can help. And if it's really something that you want, you make it work.
Okay. Sebastian?
If it's about acquisitions, it's very often that we find some properties come with, let's say, an online offer or other things, games and so on. And if they're not coming with such, we have to create it. So that's, we have to jointly invest in it to bring it to life. If it is about bringing a new project from scratch to life, I always say we have to very early identify what is needed to have a life, create a life outside of television, and then we have to implement it into the budget to make sure that we really have enough money also to bring these things, yeah.
Right, good. Okay, I want to just switch gears a little bit to curriculum and preschool shows. So, Jackie, you talked about a Love to Learn block, and Angie, you talked about lifelong learners. How important is curriculum to a preschool project?
Depends how you define curriculum, really. I mean,
you define curriculum for us.
CBeebies has always had a very sort of, learning through play. That's been our curriculum. But with the Love to Learn block, you are getting a little bit sort of, you're firming up those things. It's literacy, it's numeracy. But we've got other shows which are sort of have different sorts of ideas behind them, like Tree Food Tom supporting movement development, Rara the Noisy Lion supporting early years language development. Now, if you're going to approach a show with some sort of embedded enrichment in it like that, you have to have the right people attached to the project to actually deliver that properly and with integrity. So if it's literacy, if it's numeracy, we expect somebody to be advising on that. There are some areas that will be sort of specific to the UK, and those shows will probably stay in that area, and there are others that are more sort of universal. So every show is different, as is always the case. But
right, and curriculum is a lot more than just numbers and letters.
Completely.
Is what you're saying, yeah.
I think there's also what we have to understand is there's a kind of global catalog of joint curriculum that works in the UK and in Germany and Australia, so everywhere. What we try to do is, let's say, co-productions we did where we, from scratch, co-developed. We try to really find out what kind of curriculum does fit to the show, and what is not kind of curriculum that is a burden on a show. So with Chloe's Closet, for instance, we really try to find out what is the character all about. We try to identify the curriculum that was appropriate to go with the show. Or like with Guess How Much I Love You, the co-production we did with Australia. The same, we really had to find out big nut brown hair, little nut brown hair, what are they all about and what can they bring to the kids in terms of curriculum that really is original and does fit.
That transcends the borders too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Angie, you had a variety of examples of all kinds of curriculum.
Right, because when we talk about it is very important. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
It is very important to us as a brand. And when we talk about curriculum, we're not just talking about numbers and letters, but we're talking about social and emotional development. We're talking about physical, corporal movements. We're talking about numbers and letters. We're talking about art and music. So we really do try to make it as wide as possible because it's important for us to find the way when we promote the show that we're able to show how this is enriching in some way ensuring that in fact that is the case. So we do work with child psychologists and educators that help guide us in that regard. And that's why we have certain filters that we use in order to see if a show fits that or fits through those filters or not. And that's what makes it appropriate for Discovery Kids, or sometimes not appropriate for Discovery Kids. We always see it as, and Sebastian's right when you say, well, how much of it enhances and how much of it hinders. When it's hindering, then it's probably not being developed correctly. So obviously that is something that we don't want to bore kids. It's always about learning in a fun way. They're not even realizing that they're learning, but it's that takeaway for the parents where they feel good about the fact that they're sitting, if they're going to use, which unfortunately we know parents do this, that they use the set, the television set, as a babysitter, that they feel comfortable doing that when it's with Discovery Kids, that they feel that it's a safe environment, that they feel their children are not going to be exposed to certain things that they're not ready for them to be exposed to. So we do stress the curriculum quite a bit, and just to make sure that it's as broad as possible, because we do know that that's how kids learn, and most experiences for small children are new experiences. So it's really about focusing on that and helping them sort of cope with all of these different things that are mostly new to them in their everyday life.
Now, all four of you have very strong brands, and in this universe of more choice and more competition than ever before, how do each of you make that emotional connection with kids? How do each of you drive home that brand message? What are some examples?
I think CBeebies, we're really lucky. We have great shows on the channel, but I think in the UK, our presenters are hugely important. We have a great team of presenters who introduce the programmes and, really give the audience a connection with the channel and make them, they speak to them directly.
The presenters on CBeebies are throughout the day?
Yeah. In between programs, and that our audience love them. We know we've seen them interact with them, and they love them. And I think that really helps that emotional connection. And also, I think the work our interactive team do with grown-ups, the sort of behind-the-scenes information about programs, and also the social media, it instills that sort of confidence and trust with the channel, with the parents and caregivers, which is also important in terms of the child watching CBeebies as opposed to anybody else. And I think CBeebies, there's also a feel that the programme is actually reflecting the lives of British children, and I think that's a great way of connecting and inspiring love for the channel. So
for us, it's a kind of mixture of different keys to bridge to our audience, meaning kids and parents alike. And one thing obviously is we have to have things like KiKA Ninchen, the preschool character. I think it was not only cleverly developed, but it is aiming at the same time, from my point of view, aiming at the real emotional core values that parents want for their kids. And the kids just love this funny, nice, cute blue rabbit. And coming with such that is really giving the kids the idea. It has been developed for me because it is so much myself. I can relate to this character is extremely important. The other thing is that we really try to take our audience serious. I was writing an article and saying the headline was, "I'm working for the most important target group in the world, for kids." Kids are crucial in terms of, do I really get their attention? If they like something, yes. If they dislike something, they are gone. We adults, I watch a show, let's be honest about it, can be not so good, but there are lovely women acting and so on. Did I say that? No. But adults are more willing to give a show another 5 minutes. Kids are within a few seconds making their decision, and they like it or they dislike it. And that's why we have to be so careful about what to offer to them. Another thing why I think we're successfully emotionally getting them is that we offer television for interaction. And we have this, you saw in the trailer perhaps shortly, Kummerkasten called is the German word for the show, kind of agony aunt thing, where kids can call in and raise their real problems. Problems that they wouldn't even tell to their parents. and they even more trust and come with the problems to KiKA, trust in us, and hope and feel that we will help to sort out these things, which indeed we can't do because we are a broadcaster, but we haven't built up a network behind of pedagogues and social organizations who can then pick up these children's problems and really try to help the kids. So many levels, like said also the KiKA tour that we did, where we go over Germany to the biggest cities and try to bring the characters, the most beloved characters, to their homes, to their hometowns. Many levels, many things we have developed, kind of toolbox to emotionally really connect to them.
Okay, thanks. We just have a few more minutes, so I want to kind of switch gears, do a little prediction for the future, and then get a few questions from the audience. What do you predict is the trends in programming, and how do you think the technology is going to impact all of this? Carol, do you want to start?
Well, I think again, for us, the kids are going to tell us, you know, what's coming up, what's next, and you really need to be attentive to that. You really need to do your research. You really need to try to find the next comedy for us. And I think this, and I don't think the TV is going to go away. Kids love watching television, but again, you need to make sure that you create that environment and you are present everywhere they are. And we'll see. I think they've taken us for a good ride the last, I think you said 15 years for Teletoon as well, where we've come a long way. And it is amazing, because we were talking earlier about pitching. You come with your idea, but you need to think about all those platforms at the same time. And I think this is the trend, and moving forward is, yes, when we think about telling the story on television, but you need to also have the other elements. So I think this well.
Great. But it's the kids leading the way.
Oh, definitely,
Jackie?
definitely.
Yeah.
Completely leading the way, and sort of that's our challenge, is keeping up with where they're consuming media and making sure that our brand extensions are really effective on all of those platforms. So I think that's going to be the big challenge for us.
Great. And Sebastian?
I can just again subscribe to what Bo said. I think that what is good here also, what I can recognize, is that there are more original concepts coming back. There was a time, last 3 years, where I had the feeling that nobody was really brave enough to invest in original new things, and they came up with the CGI version of a classic, which sometimes can be very nice. We have a few of them on the channel, but it's good to learn that people are, after all these financial problems that we had all to face, that they're coming up with brave new concepts. Right. And that on top, that these concepts are, if you allow me to say so, a little more intelligent in terms of what is going with this television concept to really bring this 360 thingy to life. Okay, good. And that's good for both sides.
Good, thanks. And Angie?
I agree with everything that's been said. I think it's really about ensuring that our brands are there to sort of represent all those different characters, and making sure that we have as many touch points as we can have, because I believe that the current platforms will continue to exist. I think television will continue to exist. I just think that kids will dictate where they want to see more and how they want to see the characters in their different formats.
Okay, thank you. We have time for a couple questions. Any questions out there? I see a hand. Yeah, why don't you? Yeah, I think a mic is coming. Okay, and then you'll be next. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. My question is specifically directed to Sebastian and Angela. I followed with great interest your point about curriculum and the stories being very relevant and useful to 6 to 9-year-olds. I run a production studio in India, and what I find is that we have about 1,300 fables which were written about 3,000 years ago. And they've never really been told in animation. It's one thing to create stories today, but it's another thing to present stories that have been around since such a long time, and which have actually traveled around the world. So what would be your advice to someone who's trying to really develop these, or trying to bring it to the mainstream of global content?
Well, the one answer I'd give is please do your pre-selection of the fables you feel have a global appeal. I mean, some fables might be fantastic, but or just popular and can only work in your area. What we all need here is to understand whatever programming we are producing, if it's animation or whatever, it's costly, and so it has to travel. It has to travel to Latin America, it has to travel to the UK, also to Canada and to Germany. So I think that's a crucial point, to make a selection out of these, how many? Well, a lot, dozens, hundreds, out of these many fables. Which are the ones that really can travel to a global market?
I agree, and you'll see that, and I don't know, we probably could compare notes, but more than likely, and maybe some of the programs that you saw on the tapes, the majority of the standouts are probably standouts all around the world when you compare with other channels. So I do think that what's crucial is to see what is it that will hold up internationally, and that's probably your best bet.
Okay, and we had another question in the second row. The mic is coming to you.
Thank you. I was going to ask what you think about things like Talking Tomcat, which started as hugely popular children's apps and then went to TV, or at least online TV. Because every children's app developer I know seems to be looking for a TV deal or thinking about going that route. Is that going to happen more often, looking to apps first and then taking them to TV?
I think, we'll continue to look for great ideas from wherever, and apps are, I suppose, just a new source of ideas coming through. There's one we're looking at the moment, which started life as an app, then a book. So, it's another source of ideas for us, and whether or not you should extend it to a television will depend on the strength of the concept behind that app.
Okay. Any more questions? I think there are. We've got one in the front row, and I think there's one sort of back there.
Yes. Just wondering, what's the appropriate way to pitch an animated music interstitial? A group of, let's say, 15 interstitials, 1 to 2 minutes.
Come in and sing.
That's a very special offer. That's a very special project, I'd say.
Yeah.
First of all, the number, 15? No. Come back when you have 150. Because we're broadcasting, and we broadcast daily.
But to start,
15.
If they had 15, but to start, that...
Interstitials, if you really care for something, and we do care for bringing things to life, an interstitial does need, I overdo it now, but does need as much attention from both sides, like a series of 26 by 22. So I would really, and music also is a different, very difficult issue. I mean, in Germany we dub everything, so if there's singing going with it, you have to really find out in which market can your concept be brought to life perfectly.
Any other thoughts on music? Interstitials?
Well, I was just going to say, for Teletoon, it's very difficult because being commercial network, I mean, between the program and within the program, the time we have is really for commercials. So it's not something that would work for us.
For Latin America, we do have interstitials because I mentioned before that we have local laws that restrict a certain amount of commercial time. So it is something that we use. However, like Sebastian mentioned, because it takes the same amount of time and energy sort of to even negotiate a deal for 15 minutes versus a whole series, usually the way that we buy them is usually when they're packaged with a particular series or a number of series. So that's probably your best bet. And having about 30, if they're 1 minute, or if they're 2 minutes 15, like at least up to half an hour's worth of interstitials. So it's usually how we do it.
Jackie, and then we have one question in the back, and the front, and that'll be the last question.
I think for 15 episode format, that would kind of quite easily get lost because we strip our programming like everybody else, and so the number might be an issue unless it was sort of the intent behind the interstitials was suitable for some sort of music-based stunt, but it's knowing sort of what the intent behind that sort of proposition is really. So, but I think it would be a very tricky one for us, but we do use interstitials more than...
Okay.
But yeah, tricky.
Thank you. Last questions in the back.
Front.
It's the lights.
It's great to hear that you're all looking at apps as a potential market for the big brands, is what I'm hearing. What's your appetite for revenue-generating apps? Because for producers, a lot of the time it's about diminishing returns in publishing. Therefore, we could move into apps and we could bundle it with publishers' deal, with the book deals. If the broadcasters are not allowing revenue-generating apps, it's a sort of a different issue.
So what do you mean by revenue-generating apps? Do you mean that you
can have in-app purchases, in-app payments, upsells, which is
so
where
you,
most
you
app
want
makers...
So you're saying, would they look at an app for their platforms or for
the brands that producers are making for those shows?
So it's beyond the television beyond the television program schedule itself. For all the other platforms, can they come to you with apps? Yeah?
Can producers come with revenue-generating apps?
Okay. Can producers come?
Pre-existing ones. Or, I mean, the thing is, apps are just another way of monetizing your brand in the same way as DVD and licensing. And under the terms of our agreements, you are absolutely at liberty to go and do that. We don't sort of interfere or influence that. So it wouldn't particularly be an issue for us. That would be part of your business.
But where people were saying they wanted all rights in the multi-platform space.
So what really is, would they be willing to partner with you in a sense that you would get a revenue share and you're doing production and providing it and so forth, and they're giving you the visibility?
We would consider that. Discovery Kids would consider that.
Okay, so you can see it's a changing world, you can see it's a changing landscape, and you can see that these four really, really hugely successful brands are all adapting to it and flourishing. So thank you all. A round of applause, please, for our panel. Thank you.